Welcome back, everybody. And I want to thank you for joining me for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. It's Monday at noon. Just like every Monday, we do these live trainings. But today, I have a special guest. You can see the gentleman standing over here on my right, my left. I'm not sure which way the camera is going to point. His name is Mike Burke. He is the CEO and owner of Teddy's Logistics. And he's going to tell a quick story about his journey from startup to doing over $65,000 in profit in his first 6 months. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, but I'm not going to spill the popcorn in the lobby. Really quick, first, welcome, Mike. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dennis.
Yes, a fellow former New Yorker. Now you live in Florida. You have a great story, and I really wanted to share it. So I want to thank you once again for being here, helping inspire and help educate some of the people in the Freight Broker Bootcamp community. Now, before we dive into this, let me set the agenda really quick. For those of you that are catching this on replay, make sure you hit me up in the replay in the comments with hashtag replay. I love to hear from the replay folks. For those of you that are catching me on live, hit me up and tell me the city and state that you're logging in from. I'll try to give you a couple shout outs. And know one thing, I am going to do a free giveaway. Like always, I do a giveaway. Anybody who wants a chance to win one of these shirts, first of all, you got to be in the U.S. Sorry, just U.S. only. Freightpreneur. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Okay, this is going to be given away. I give away these almost every single week. And so if you want a chance to win that, all you have to do, here's all you have to do. Okay, all you have to do is share the stream. Click the share button, share it on Facebook, share it on YouTube, share it on Pinterest, share it on wherever you want to share it, Twitter or wherever. And then come back into the comments and type hashtag shared. That lets me know that you shared it and you now qualify for the free giveaway. Okay, that's all you got to do. So let me give a few shout outs to some people while you guys are doing that. So again, if you want a chance to win the shirt, you got to share the stream, Facebook or YouTube, and then share it on any social platform, and then come back in and type hashtag shared to let me know you shared it. After the interview with Mike, we're going to do the giveaway. And then after the giveaway, we're going to do live Q&A. So hang around to the end if you got questions, whether it be about this interview or starting your freight brokerage or freight agency or whatever it is. Okay. So here we go, guys. Quick shout out. Nelson Sanchez from Florida. Welcome. Hennessy Dragon Transportation, Las Vegas, Nevada. David Sapita from St. Paul, Minnesota. Corey Mills from Spring, Utah. Dove Sauer from New York, DR Cherokee Texan from Arlington, Texas, Islam Kasim from Chicago, Eddie Reed from North Alabama, Raider Alex from El Progreso, Honduras. Honduras is in the house. Wow, amazing. We got some Central America here. Will from Chicago, Elizabeth from Birmingham, my good friend Yogesh Goswami from Goa, India, as always. One of the biggest success stories in Freight Broker Bootcamp history. If you want to check that out, go to YouTube and just search Freight Broker Bootcamp or Yogi Goswami, and you will definitely hear that story. It's a great story. Thank you for being here, Yogi. Kimberly Rivera from Bronx, New York. Martin Farr from Athens, Texas. Nevada Trucking from brand new here, so I don't know where he's from, but Andreas from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Anthony from Forney, Texas. Robbie from Key West, Florida. We got people from all over the place. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry if I can't give everybody a shout out today. I definitely want to get to the interview because I know you guys are all busy, but thank you for joining me. Whether you catch us on replay or catching this live, thank you so much for being here. Today, we have an interview with a past student of Freight Broker Bootcamp. The gentleman's name is Mike Burke, and he's going to talk about his journey from startup to doing over $65,000 in profit in his first 6 months. But before we do that, okay, just one last thing, and then we're going to jump into the interview, okay? For those of you that want a chance to win the Freightpreneur shirt, okay, you want a chance to win this shirt. Number one, you got to be in the U.S. Number two, you got to share this live stream right now. You got to be live. You got to share the stream. And then once you share it on Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram or wherever you want to share it, come back in and type hashtag shared in the comments below. That'll let me know you shared it. And then you will qualify for the drawing, which is going to be after the interview. And again, you're going to have to be live in order for a chance to win. Okay. All right. So enough with the formalities. Mike, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Where are you based out of now?
I'm sorry?
Where are you based out of now? Where do you live now?
Tampa, Florida?
Tampa, Florida. And you were formerly from the New York area, right?
Correct.
I still sense a little bit of that Long Island accent.
Yeah, from Long Island, Albany.
Long Island and Albany. Okay, great. And so tell me really quick, let's just kind of jump into this. What was it about the logistics, transportation, freight brokerage industry that got you so interested? Why did you decide to become a freight broker? Because that wasn't your background. I mean, you didn't have this career in freight brokerage and logistics and transportation. How did you make that transition from your career? And you could tell us a little bit about that into freight brokerage and why.
Well, once I retired from my previous career, I started out as a dispatcher, and I was working for a company, dispatching trucks, and I liked it, and talking to people and talking to the carriers and brokers. So somebody said, why don't you, start out as an agent? And so I did. I worked for a mega company. I won't say who, but worked for them for about 6 months. And I'm like sitting there, I'm busting my butt for them and making them money and making myself a little bit of money. I was like, well, this isn't really rocket science. What you got to do is just be a nice person, talk to people nicely, and get over your fear of being on the phone. I still have the fear of the phone. I hate the phone because I'm so much of an introvert that the phone is hard for me. So I took Dennis's course, and then he had that one course. It was called No Cold Calling. And I took that course and I studied that course left and right because for somebody who's an introvert, it's an awesome course. Learning how to use LinkedIn as your major tool, finding all the other tools that help make LinkedIn and make your success as a no cold caller.
And yeah, that's amazing. So you started out as a dispatcher, you decided to become an agent, and then you said, I want to break out on my own. You took my Freight Broker Bootcamp startup course. Yep. You got the fundamentals you kind of filled in the gap there. And then you realized that the sales was kind of your weakness, right? Because you're introverted, you didn't like the phone. I have, just so everybody knows, I have another course, a little bit more advanced course than just for startups. And that is my no cold calling for freight broker system. It's my LinkedIn and social selling system that I use to generate over $20 million in annual recurring revenue from my brokerage. Now I have a course, and he took that course and he leveraged that course because he's not a guy who loves to make a high volume of calls. He doesn't have a comfort level with talking to people, straight cold calling. And so he used that system. And tell us what happened after that system. How did that work out for you? What was the results of all that training from boot camp all the way through no cold calling?
Like any system, it took some time to build up, contacts that were starting to trust me. In LinkedIn, you make the quick connect with them. And then I use the side tools like Lucia, Rocket Reach, Hunter. Ways of getting emails. And then I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. So, I wrote nice emails to all these connections. And of course, you get your rejects and people that tell you to, go F off somewhere and leave me alone, just like you do on the phone. But you got to keep plugging away. And in 3 months, I must have sent out almost 4,000 emails because I use a mass mailing system too to be able to get out between 1,500 and 2,000 emails a day if I wanted to. But I usually just send out between 100 and 150 a day. And
3 months, you had how much in sales?
In 3 months?
Yep.
Zero
in his first 3 months.
Yep.
But guess what? He kept going. Yeah. All right. Keep going because I want you to tell the story but it's amazing to me because this is where a lot of people quit, but Mike didn't quit. And then guess what happened?
So yeah, like Dan said, I didn't quit, it's like, because I could see you see the bigger picture, you see everybody, making this mega money. So I was like, why quit? So I just kept plugging away, and lo and behold, I got a email back from a client, wanted me to price out some lanes, and I did, and she loved it, and she gave it to me. And by the end of my fourth month, after running eight runs for her, I was like $15,000 in revenue. Wasn't much in my pocket at the time, but still, I made 15 grand in a month, and it just kept building and building. And like they say, once the shit starts rolling, it just keeps rolling. And what happened was, more and more people started answering emails, started pricing out, and by the end of my fifth month, I was up to 5 customers, 2 where I was running between 8 and 10 loads a week for. A couple of the other ones were a load here, a load there. Some were just 1 load. But by end of 6 months, I was up to over 230,000 in gross revenue, and I had in my pocket almost a little over 65 grand.
So within his first 3 months, he had 0. Remember that. Pay attention. Lean in, people. Listen to me. First 3 months, he had 0, but he didn't quit. He did all the work. He did all the hard work. He got the rejection. He got over the fear, but he kept plugging. He kept plugging. And then in his 4th month, he got his first customer. And then after that first customer and that first load, he got more loads. And then he got more customers and more loads and more customers. By the time he ended his 6th month in business, he had done over $65,000 in profit, okay, for that period. But now, what are you doing now? Because I think it's even better now. Your numbers are even higher. What did you do in like July? Tell me a little bit about what your sales and profit were just for July.
Just for July, I brought in 35 grand.
He made 35,000 in profit.
Yeah.
Not in gross profit.
Profit.
Because you got to understand, Mike is a broker. He's not an agent right now. He's a broker. So he made $35,000 in profit margin. How much are your total expenses on a monthly basis to run your business? If you had to guesstimate what your monthly expenses are total to run the business?
Total, probably about 5 grand.
About $5,000 total to run the business. And that includes what? Insurance, load boards. I mean, that's pretty high in itself. You have dispatchers, you have people that work for you?
Currently, I just brought on 4 people, all agents. So, I've been training them, getting them up and running. One of the guys has a background in Wall Street. So, he's got the sales experience down pat. It's just got to teach him the rest of the business.
Is that a lot of your overhead, or is that where's your overhead come from? Because that 5,000 even seems pretty high. I mean, I know you have some, you've got your bond costs, you've got some insurance, you've got some basic stuff, but that even seems high to me.
Between my insurance, load board, my TMS is not exactly cheap. I basically had a team build my TMS for me.
Well, there you go. Okay. So that's a big part of it. Yeah, for sure. Gotcha. Okay, good. But either way you look at it, even with $5,000 in expense, you're still making net about $30,000 in profit before taxes. So that's amazing. Kudos to you. Congrats. What I'm most impressed about, Mike, is this: the fact that a couple of things. Number one, you're a pretty introverted guy. I think everybody here can see you're kind of a quiet spoken, you're not one of those guys who's going to stand up in the middle of the party and tell jokes and be the life of the party. But you obviously can carry on a conversation. You obviously understand the fundamentals of the business, and you still were able to break through and get to shippers and get their attention. Because again, that's the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part of this business, is just getting their attention. And you did it with my no cold calling system. Is that still how you're getting clients today, using LinkedIn and social selling?
I have not made a single cold call.
I love it. I love it. Because when I tell people that I haven't made a cold call since 2009, they look at me like I'm crazy, because that's when I joined LinkedIn. I haven't made a cold call since then for any business I've been involved in. And I've had multiple businesses and still have. And so I love to hear that. That's great that you've been able to find a system that works for you, right? Which is this no cold calling system using LinkedIn and social selling. And again, it's not rocket science, but if you have the basic fundamentals of the system, the return on investment can be huge. And I'm so happy to hear that you were able to leverage that and just kind of parlay it into what is now a highly profitable business. I mean, have you ever made in your life $30,000 in 1 month?
No.
No, most people hadn't. I remember the first time I made $30,000 in a month. I thought it was all the money in the world. I thought I was rich. But here's the good part. The system that you've put in place and the lessons that you've learned, there's no difference between you doing 30,000 a month and doing $300,000 a month. Now, that may not be your goal, and that's okay, right? You may not have that goal because it may not be that level of work. You may be doing this to live a little different lifestyle.
Yeah,
But the good part is what you did to go from 0 to 30,000 a month in profit isn't that much different to go from 30,000 to 300,000 a month in profit. So for those of you that are listening, depending upon what your goals are, I'm sure most of you would be tickled pink making $30,000 a month. And I think that's a great a great goal to have, particularly anytime in your first year of doing business. So Mike, let's talk a little bit about some of the things you learned in the process, right? We've talked about the fact that you've got to have grit and intestinal fortitude, and you've got to deal with rejection, and you can't quit, right? But what else would you like to share with the audience that you think would really benefit them in their startup, particularly their first 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months? What would you share with them? What did you learn that you think might benefit them?
Well, from what I learned, I mean, you need to stay focused. That's the biggest key. You got to keep that discipline. You can't let being at home distract you. Because I fail at that.
We all do.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes home life gets in the way, but then I have to smack myself, and it's like, okay, I got to sit down and tell the wife to leave, go off and do what you got to go do. I got to work, because sometimes she gives me a hard time. She doesn't think what I'm doing is work. But when she's in the bank account, and she's like, oh, I guess you're working a little bit.
I love it. Yeah. So number one, stay focused. And it is hard at home in particular to stay focused. You've got the dogs, you've got the UPS driver, you got your spouse, you got your kids. It can be challenging for sure, but you really do have to stay focused. I think that's a great point. And I think that's something that people underestimate when they work from home. They think that it's going to be, perfect and easy because, I don't have to commute. But there's definitely challenges to working from home. And I think staying focused is definitely one of those. So that's great. What else?
Put yourself on the schedule and stick to it.
Yeah. Treat it like a job. Treat it like a job from a scheduling perspective. The good thing is you're the boss. The bad thing is you're the boss.
Right.
Right? That's the hard part.
Yeah. There's a lot of frustration, especially dealing, trying to get your loads picked up, and you get the frustration of the carrier saying, oh no, I don't want to work with you because you're brand new. There's ways around it. You gotta almost beg and plead with them to try and take you on. A lot of times I pre-call factoring companies and try to set up as being a preferred customer, or get some kind of credit rating, if a carrier does call. A lot of times the carrier thinks when they get that N from the factoring company means no, don't use them. It actually means new. So it's up to the carrier if they want to use them. And then, you talk to the carrier and offer them quick pay, or, give them some incentive to use you. And I mean, it's worked. I've got 7 carriers that are constantly on all my loads. So
yeah, I love that. And, so that's another obstacle that new brokers run into, and you have to be aware of it. Sometimes carriers don't want to take a risk on doing business with a new broker. Either their factoring company won't factor the invoice, or the carrier has just decided they won't take the risk. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, you've got to focus on the relationship, and you have to sell them on why. There's ways to do that. You can offer quick pays using some of your own financing or credit. I went through a training with Elio Longorio not long ago where we talked about how to build your credit fast and how he was able to do that. We talked about, reaching out to factoring companies and getting set up as an approved broker, right? With at least a small credit line to get started. So some of those things we've talked about, and it sounds like you did a lot of those things, but guess what? You got through it. Even though there was shippers that told you no, even though there was carriers that told you no, even though there was a whole lot of no's and a whole lot of rejection, you just kept moving along. You just, it's like,
going.
what's that?
You just got to keep plugging.
Just got to keep plugging. That's right.
I mean, if this is a dream of yours and you really want to put the full effort into it, you got to do it. You can't do it half-ass. No. It's either all in or step out.
Yep. I agree. No, I agree. And having that level of commitment is probably one of the reasons why you are here today, and the reason why you were able to make 30,000 in profit last month, because you weathered the storm. And if I can I keep saying it over and over again, but I see so many people that take my program, Bootcamp, they get all the education and they think that's what all they need. When in reality, I tell people all the time, execution is the key, right? The learning part, the step-by-step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do this, do this, do this. That's pretty easy. Anybody can figure that out. You could probably figure that out on your own if you wanted to hobble together a bunch of information on Google and YouTube. I put the course together as a systematic and easy way for you to do that, my Freight Broker Bootcamp online course. But the fact is that the learning is the easy part. The execution and doing the work, that's the hard part, right? And doing it long enough to where you can have some success. Because I think there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold, right? And it talks about how, so many people quit when they're this close to success, right? They're this close to having success and they quit and they fold up shop. And so I'm happy that you didn't, Mike, because I think that this is going to be a little bit different retirement plan than what you had or what most people have versus working at McDonald's or working at a local convenience store or working at Home Depot, right? Those are all great things and there's nothing wrong with that. But you're working from home, you're with your wife, you live in Florida, and I don't know if this was your retirement plan, but boy, it sure seems to be working out for you.
Actually, it wasn't, but I planned on just coming down here and hanging out, but then, these days get long and boring and look for something to do. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So what else would you like to share with the audience? Is there anything else you want to share with them? Any insights, anything specific? Like, for example, maybe we could talk a little, we don't need to talk about the customers, but maybe we can talk about your niche. What did you do from a niche perspective? Because what I find is that most brokers, particularly startup in their first year, need to find and dig into a niche in order to really start getting any sort of rhythm. What's your niche?
My niche is plastics.
Plastics. So you do a lot in and around plastics. Yeah. So this is molding,
injecting, recycle. Pretty much that's it. Everything. And I also have some produce I'm doing. Not a fan of the reefer business because I've already had 2 claims for bad stuff.
Yep. But that happens. It's a perishable. The pros and cons of produce are, there's a lot of it and it pays high and it has to move. So prices you can make a good amount of money on every load because it can't just sit on the dock like a pallet full of plastics. Plastics aren't going to go bad, right? In 2 or 3 days. Produce, watermelon, oranges, apples, whatever it is, that's going to go bad quick. So so there's pros and cons to that, but you've honed in on a couple of niches and that's where most of your clients are, right? So they're in plastics and injection molding and recycling. And then the other part is produce.
Yep.
But you're really focused more, I can tell, on the plastics and the recycling and that stuff.
The plastics are 2 of my bigger money makers.
Yeah. Love it. Perfect.
Because I do a lot of long distance runs. So that's where you make your money, get those long distance runs in there. I have another guy that I'm starting with next week, running granite out of Charleston. We're going to be running 40 loads a week.
So is that being imported?
Yeah, it's being imported and running 40 containers.
That's amazing. I love it. All right. So let's talk about this. We talked a little bit about the niche and how you focused on a couple of niches. You also mentioned the fact that you're hiring some people. You've hired some agents. Now, are these independent commission only agents that you've hired?
Starting out as independents, and after 90 days, I've given them the option if they want to come on full time and get benefits, they're more than welcome to, or if they want to stay on as an independent, it's up to them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. But initially they're independent. You're
Yeah.
gonna help train them a little bit, get them going in the right direction. And then at that point, they're gonna be commission only. And then after a few months, depending upon the success they've had, they're gonna make a decision whether they want to be more of a W-2 employee or stay independent on commission only.
Yeah. So, and right now, I got them a lot of training going on. I'm bringing in a sales coach for them to help, help them build up their sales experience. So, I'm treating them good. We have staff meetings twice a week.
Yeah, what I love about that, here's the thing that I take from that. It isn't so much the fact that you hired agents. It isn't so much that you are paying them commission or bringing them on as employees. Here's what he's doing, guys. And this is the thing that you got to understand. And this is a mistake that I see all the time. You heard about how he's made $65,000 in profit in the first 6 months. You heard about how he made $30,000 in net profit last month. Here's what Mike's doing. He's reinvesting that profit back into the business. This is one of the hardest things that I run into with students that start seeing some success. All of a sudden, here's what happens. They make $10,000 in profit, they spend $10,000. They make $15,000 in profit, they spend $15,000, and they don't reinvest that money back into the business, into people and technology and systems and training and the things that you need to do in order to operate a successful business. So Mike's reinvesting some of those profits, not all of it. He's got a fair share he's putting in his pocket. He's got more than enough to save some, but at the same time, he's putting money back into his business. You have to think about that. I can tell you right now, my first year in business, we did well over $1 million in sales. I could have made a lot of money, but I only took, personally, my first year, I only took $48,000 in compensation that first year. Everything else went back into the business. And it was that way for years. I don't think I took a 6-figure salary from my brokerage until my third year. So I think I took $48,000 the first year, and I took maybe in the 50s or 60s the second year. Second year, we did $3.6 million in sales. Third year, we did $6 million. That's when I finally bumped my salary to about 6 figures. But the point is that we just kept reinvesting that money into the business because we knew that number one, we needed to have some money on the sideline for a rainy day. And number two, we needed that if we wanted to hit our growth goals. So that's a big lesson that I think I want you to take away from this, is to reinvest in the business itself. And it looks like Mike's doing that. So, the fact that he made $35,000 in profit now, he might reinvest $5,000 or $10,000 into that, but that might allow him to go from $35,000 in profit to $40,000 or $50,000 in profit, right? So that's the goal. That's the objective. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that, Mike?
No, I mean, that's my goal. And, people, I tell them I invest in all these programs to help with the outreach, Booster, Rocket Reach. I mean, everything costs money. They're like, why do you pay for that when you can do it for free? I was like, well, my return investment is double by using these systems now. Because if I hadn't used these systems, who knows where I'd be. So
yeah, for sure. No, I love it. I mean, access to information and leads. Like, here's a perfect example. I put together the shipper database and put it into the Freight Broker Bootcamp, and I've had it there for a long time. And I update it. We just did a big update. There's hundreds of thousands of shippers in that Freight Broker Bootcamp shipper database. But here's the thing. People are like, well, I can just search them up on Google, or I can just find them on some directory. Sure, you can. You can spend 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day searching for leads on Google. You absolutely can. But that's time. That's resources. That's energy. That's money, right? That you're wasting, when in reality, And this is just an example, right? But the tools that you're using, like your email program and LinkedIn and Lucia and these other programs, those are tools that make your job easier, more efficient, and not only that, but more accurate, right? If you're looking for emails and being able to send out multiple messages, yeah, you're going to have to invest in some sort of software. You're going to have to invest in that. So yeah, I mean, there's an ROI, exactly. There's a return on investment based upon that. Tell me, anybody listening to this is for anybody out there, would you invest $1,000 in a widget if you knew that 1,000 you could turn into 2,000? Well, of course you would. You'd be a fool not to. That's all these tools do. Now, you can't spend money frivolously on every tool if it's not getting you an ROI, but you can know pretty quickly whether that tool has value. Things like LinkedIn, absolutely incredibly valuable. That's a free tool, but you can also have paid versions. Some of the other things you've mentioned, incredibly powerful, give you strong leverage and and probably one of the keys to your success. So I love to hear that. That's amazing. All right. So listen, any final words for the group here, for everybody tuning in before we do the giveaway? Anything you want to share with them? You've already given a lot. I appreciate it. And I know you've given some valuable insight. Was there any final words?
I mean, my final words is like we've been saying, just don't give up. Because if you give up on Friday and you lose out on Monday, that Monday you could land somebody. It's just, don't give up. I mean, unless you're plugging along for a year and you didn't get anywhere, then sit back and reevaluate it and see what's going wrong. But
I love that. I think, that whole concept of 3 feet from gold. And I was talking to you in the pre-interview and we were talking about this concept that I'm working on. And the whole concept is you're just one shipper away. You're just one shipper away from paying your mortgage. You're just one shipper away from paying for your car payment. You're just one shipper away from paying for your kids' college education. You're just one shipper away from having some sort of financial freedom, right? Where you don't have to go get a job or take some job that you hate, right? And so that one shipper for Mike set him free. Now he was retired already, but financially he's now profitable and he's reinvesting in the business. And of course he parlayed that into more shippers and he's going to continue to grow. But the lesson here is you're just one shipper away. So don't give up. So Mike, I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on all your success. Anybody who's interested in learning how to become a freight broker, freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We're well known to be the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program available online. And we offer an unconditional, no questions asked, 60-day money-back guarantee. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You guys can check that out. Again, we've had over 10,000 students in the last decade that have went through that program. Mike is one of those. I'm fortunate to have met him now. Fortunate to hear his success story. I hope this inspired you to take action on your dreams. Have an amazing day. And now we are going to do the giveaway. So we're going to do the giveaway, guys. If you guys want a chance to win the Freightpreneur shirt, right? Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. I'm going to give this away. One of these shirts is going to be given away. You have to be in the US. You have to share the stream right now. Click the share button on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're at and share it on your social channels. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter, share it on wherever. But you got to share it with your network. If you don't have a social following, just share it with 3 people via email, right? But you got to share the stream and then come back in here and type in the comments that hashtag shared. You can also, if you don't want to share it, you can just tag 3 people in the comments below that you think might be interested in learning how to become a freight broker or freight agent, or might be just interested in hearing this free training or one of our future lives. But yeah, share the stream. And then in about 1 minute or so, you got about 1 minute to do that. And then I'm going to do a giveaway. We're going to do the giveaway like we do every single week. We've got a lot of people that are sharing. We got Simply Mindy, Natasha, Michelle, Taylor, Unapologetic K, some random Facebook user, and Lola Norris. A whole bunch of people are sharing it. Listen, this is an honor system, so don't try to cheat. I'm not going to go out and verify right now whether you actually shared the stream, but I can later, and I would hate to call you out on a future live if you tried to BS me. So be honest, share the stream. It takes you literally 5 seconds to share the stream, and then you'll have a chance to win this shirt. And just so you guys know, for those of you that really love this shirt, and I've been asked, no exaggeration, at least 100 times to start selling these. Okay. I'm not in the t-shirt business, guys. Okay. I have no interest in selling t-shirts, but I am considering putting a link together where you guys can buy these. This is not going to be a profit center for me. I'm not interested in selling shirts, but I get so many questions about this shirt. People want it. So I'm considering putting together a link where you guys can just order it yourself, pay for it, put all your shipping in and get it shipped to you. And again, I'll always continue to give them away free as part of the promotions here we do on these lives. But for those of you that want to own it, when I tell you I've had 50 to 100 or more people that have asked me if they could buy the shirt, and I don't have a way to where they could buy it. I don't really want to get in the t-shirt business, to be extremely honest with you. So all right, cool. So what do we got here? Let's see. All right. So we got a bunch of people who have shared it. So we're going to do live Q&A after the giveaway, but hold your questions. Hold your questions. Do not type your questions yet, because otherwise they're going to get lost in the stream. So, okay, good. All right. So here we go, guys. T minus, let me take a quick drink. T minus 15 seconds, and we are going to do the giveaway. You got just a couple seconds here to share the stream, and then come back in and type #shared. And again, we do these lives every Monday at noon. They're absolutely free. You don't even have to be a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp in order to be a part of these lives. Obviously, if you are a part of the bootcamp, there's a whole bunch of benefits that you can check out. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com to check that out. All right, guys, so here we go. I'm going to randomly select. I'm going to get, all right, so I'm into the shared area, so I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to scroll my mouse, and the winner is James Young. James Young. Congratulations, James Young. You are the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Here's all you have to do in order to claim your prize. Go to the Facebook page for Freight Broker Bootcamp. Go to Facebook page, Freight Broker Bootcamp, and message me. Send a message with your full name, your address, your size, your cell phone number, okay? Because for tracking purposes. And I will make sure this shirt goes out this week. Again, this is the Freightpreneur shirt. You're going to get one. Make sure you message me with your full name, address, and size. Otherwise, I can't send you the shirt. Okay. So make sure you do that, and we will definitely send the shirt out. I'm also going to be sending a shirt out to Mike for taking time out of his busy day. Appreciate you being here, Mike. Thank you so much. We're going to do a few Q&A. Can you stick around, or do you have to run?
I got to run, actually.
Okay. No worries.
Questions for me. Just send them to my email. It's Mike Burke at teddyslogistics.com.
Yeah, cool. So if you guys got specific question for Mike, you can just shoot him an email. He just told you what is Mike Burke at teddyslogistic.com. And I appreciate you being here, my friend. I will definitely send off that shirt, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
All right. Thanks, Dennis.
All right. Well, we're going to stick around and do some Q&A. I'm going to shut you up. What's that?
Have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mike.
All right. Take care.
All right, guys. So listen, we're going to do Q&A. I'm going to stick around and do Q&A. I can't answer for Mike, but the topics that we talked about today, I'll be glad to elaborate on any of those topics or talk about any component of starting or growing a successful freight brokerage. Again, we have a limited amount of time. I'll try to get to as many questions as we can. So type your questions in. Let's see your questions. Type your questions in, and I will gladly answer. Congratulations once again to James Young for winning the shirt. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sticking around live. Thank you for being a part of the Freight Broker Bootcamp community. James, hit me up in the comments here. Are you a member of the Freight Broker Bootcamp paid course, or do you just tune into these lives, or are you considering becoming a member? Tell me a little bit about that. And then I'm going to look for some questions here and see who I can help. All right. All right, so here's a question from, I get this question all the time, from Camille Olider. If I murdered your name, I apologize. What's the difference between a corporate or an LLC setup? Pros and cons. Okay, so what's the difference between a corporation and an LLC? All right, First of all, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. Even though I have a pre-law degree, I did not go to law school. I did not practice law. I decided to become an entrepreneur, thank God. And so the difference between a corporation, like a C corporation, versus an LLC is this. And I'm going to give you the layman's version, okay? A corporation, just so you know, most freight brokerages start up as LLCs, not as C corporations, okay? So an LLC stands for a limited liability corporation. It's one of the most cost-effective ways to set up a corporation. There's a lot less regulation around it. C corporations have a lot more guidelines and regulations. Plus, C corporations are taxed twice. You have a corporate tax, right, on the earnings, as well as when you take income, you are taxed on that as well. And so an S corporation, all of the losses or income, or an LLC or an S corporation, an LLC will flow through to the owners of that corporation. So the losses or profits will flow through, so you don't get taxed twice, okay? So my suggestion, if you have a specific question about the difference between a corporation or an LLC, just search Google. There's a gazillion results. There's lots of lawyers that have published great information on that. My suggestion to you, most freight brokerages start as LLCs, okay? But again, it depends on if you're going to have investors. It depends on if you're going to have, just stock distributions and all kinds of things that get really complex with C corporations. But again, I'm not a lawyer, but check out Google and you'll be able to get a lot of great information there. Thanks. All right. What else we got? Okay. So here's a question from Destiny. What's the process like when you finally get a carrier to move the load? What are the systems to keep track? Do you call the driver to schedule everything, or do you speak to the dispatcher? Okay, good questions. So when you find a carrier to move your load and you guys agree on a price, the first thing you're going to do is send a rate confirmation, which is basically just some basic load details with a rate on it. It's kind of like a one-page contract that says, I'm agreeing to move this load for X price. They sign it, send it back to you. That's the rate confirmation. From there, if there are pickup and delivery appointments for the load, meaning you have appointment for the pickup or delivery, you're going to have to schedule those, okay? So you're going to have to call the pickup location, the drop location. If they haven't already given you an appointment, you may have to schedule an appointment. As far as the driver goes, typically one of two things will happen. On the day of the pickup, right, on the day the load is going to pick up, okay, you will either talk to their dispatcher about the information to confirm that they're being dispatched into the pickup location, or preferably you will talk directly with the driver and you will dispatch them into the pickup location. So you're going to give them the full address and details on the pickup location. At that point, after they're loaded, they should contact you and let you know that they picked up, there's no issues, and they're now in transit. Throughout the load, you're going to do daily check calls to the driver or to the dispatcher, preferably the driver. And they're going to give you an update as to where they are, depending if it's a multi-day load. If it's one pick, one drop, it might just be the same day. It might be the next day. But sometimes if you're moving a load from Boston to California, it might take you 4 or 5 days, right, to get out there, 3, 4, or 5 days to get out there, depending upon if they're a team or if they're a solo driver, and a lot of variables that go in between. But ultimately, you're going to do check calls daily to make sure that they're on en route and that they're still going to make the delivery appointment. And then after the load delivers, the driver should contact you and let you know that the load is delivered. And then at that point, you can go to the carrier, get a signed bill of lading, and you can actually bill your shipper. Okay. So that's the basic flow. As far as tracking goes, a lot of the TMSs now have tracking systems built within them. There's one that's really popular called MacroPoint, which is where they can actually track the trucks, right? And there are different apps where you can track the location of the trucks, which helps save a lot of time and energy when it comes to doing daily check calls and making sure that the freight is going to pick up and deliver on time. So that creates a little bit of transparency. It's like those are like kind of GPS tracking type apps that brokers now have access to. When I first started back in 2003, those didn't exist, right? Carriers had the ability to track their equipment, but brokers never did. There wasn't those third-party apps and softwares available. One of the most popular ones, again, is MacroPoint. There are probably dozens of others that are out there competing in that space. But a lot of the TMS, transportation management software, have them built into their systems. And if they don't, they can integrate with some of the more popular ones. So I hope that helps, Destiny. Thanks. Good question. Islam, containers. Is there anything specific I need to know? Yeah, of course. It's a niche. Containers, running containers out of the port is definitely a niche. It's not something that you are going to just haphazardly go into. It's something you need to do your research on. You need to understand how freight and carriers flow in and out of the ports, because when you're dealing with containers, a lot of times that's going to be freight that's coming and going from the ports. And so, yeah, you're going to want to do your research. Freight Broker Bootcamp, we do not specialize in import export. We specialize in teaching people how to make money as brokers. That's one element of brokering, which is kind of it's a one component of brokering, which is moving containers. It's a niche. But beyond just understanding the fundamentals of broking, you're going to want to do some research and do some serious due diligence on moving containers in and out of a port. Because there are definitely some nuances to it. It's not as simple as a one pick, one drop van load picking up, on Main Street and delivering 100 miles away to another location. It's a little bit different. Okay. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to do some research there. Robert. Okay. So my no cold calling course is something that's not available a la carte. Okay. It's currently not available a la carte. Okay. So here's a deal I'll make with you guys right now. Okay. First of all, I'm going to tell you right up front, the no cold calling for freight brokers course that Mike talked about in the training, it's $1,000 product discounted. Okay. It's normally a $1,500 product. I'll sell it for $1,000, $997. If you guys are interested, because you're here live and because you're part of the live community, if you want that no cold calling course, it's the entire system that I used to generate over $20 million in annual recurring revenue, right? You just heard Mike talk about it. This is not a paid ad, right? I didn't pay Mike to be here. He invested in the course. He now does $30,000 a month in profit. He's never made a cold call. Those are his words, not mine. Okay. If you guys want that course, here's all you have to do. You need to go, sorry about my dog in the background there, but here's all you got to do. You got to go to my Facebook page, Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page, and message me direct and let me know, say, I want the no cold calling course. I will then send you a link where you will be able to enroll in that course. Now, I'm not opening this to the public. This is going to be for the people that are live on this now, right? That are live and kept this on replay in the next 24 hours. Okay. If you do want you want to be a part of that no cold calling course. Okay. It's a $907 investment. It's one time, you get lifetime access, and you already heard how it worked for Mike. It's worked for many, many others. As a matter of fact, some of you guys might have heard of the testimonial from Joseph Durbin inside of the Freight Broker Bootcamp members only group, where he talked about how, that was how he got all his clients, was using the no cold calling course as well. So yeah, if you guys want that, you got to message me, but this is not an open invitation. This is something you got to do it now. I'm willing to do it because Mike mentioned it on the training today, but it's not something that I open a la carte. It's something that I will open in the future, but I don't know when that's going to reopen. Okay. So if you want that, I will do it, but you got to send me a message ASAP, and then you're going to have to enroll ASAP. And it's $1,000. There's no payment plans. There's none of that. You got to pay $1,000. You get access to the course, lifetime access. Okay. So hope that helps. Okay. Taylor Edmonds asked, Dennis, do you have an active brokerage where you encourage the application of entry-level agents? I've worked for FedEx Freight for the last 3 years and looking at beginning a new journey. Taylor, I sold my brokerage in 2016, but here's the good news. Two things. Number one, I've trained over 10,000 students. Many of them have went on to build successful brokerages, some of which you heard from today, others I've interviewed and talked about before, and many others that have never been interviewed but have 7 or even 8-figure freight brokerages over the last decade. So here's the good news. As a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, if you are a paid member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, you can get access to our paid members group. Now, that members group has well over 1,000 people in that group. Many of them are current and past students that have successful brokerages. So that's a place where a lot of people network if they want to be agents, and they will get hired as agents through that group. I also just launched a brand new job board. Freight broker. It's the only freight broker. Let's see, I'm going to put the link in here. It's the only freight broker, freight agent job board available online today. It's exclusively dedicated to freight brokers and freight agents. You can check that out at jobs.freightbrokerbootcamp.com. It's a free resource. If you are a broker and you want to hire agents or salespeople or dispatchers, you can place a job ad there for free. If you are someone interested in becoming an agent, you can apply to those jobs for free. It costs nothing. It's a free resource. Okay. I just launched that last week. It's getting a ton of traffic, very popular. People are placing new job ads every day. People are applying for jobs. People are getting hired. So I put that resource together for anybody that wants to be a part of the Freight Broker Bootcamp community. So those are the two things. One, if you become a member, you can get access to the members only Facebook group where people do a lot of networking and get hired there and develop relationships. And then the other part is now the jobs.freightbrokerbootcamp job board. So the freight broker and freight agent job board I just launched. So good question. Thank you for asking. But no, I do not have my own brokerage anymore. I sold it, but I have over 10,000 students that I've trained. And from that, there are tons of brokers and agents that are willing to hire new agents. Let's see. So Sean Adams asks, I'm looking to purchase insurance and I have looked at different videos, but I need to know what insurance exactly do I need? Sean, here's the good news. You are not required by law to have any insurance. You're not required to have general liability insurance. You're not required to have cargo insurance. You're not required to have any form of insurance as a broker, because as a broker, your loads will ship under and operate under the carrier's insurance. So the carrier has to have liability insurance, BIPD, which is bodily injury, personal damage, right? They have to have liability insurance, and they also have to have cargo insurance because that's what the loads run under. Your job as a broker is to make sure that those carriers are insured properly. And if there's any damage or issues or claims, it goes through the carrier's insurance. So you as a broker do not need insurance. Fact is, the only time you can be found liable is if you are negligent, meaning if you hire a carrier that doesn't have insurance and then there's a claim, well, then now you're liable. But it's easy to validate if a carrier has insurance. And so that's what brokers do. And a lot of brokers don't have any insurance at all. Now, there are optional insurance coverages that brokers will sometimes have. They'll have general liability, which is a smart investment if you have the cash. They'll have what's called contingent cargo insurance, which could be another investment. Some shippers will require that type of insurance. Most shippers do not. Okay. There's errors and emissions insurance. There's all kinds of insurance. Trust me, the insurance industry has tons of products they want to sell you, some of which you don't need, some of which have value, some of which are not good for startups, some of which are more important to companies that have already scaled up, right? So the good news is, as a broker, you do not need insurance. As an agent, you do not need insurance because you're going to be operating under the insurance of your carriers. So there you go. All right, so I'm scrolling here. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Lisbeth Bandera, what's a good line to use when cold calling shippers? Okay. Here, Lisbeth, let me put this politely. There is no perfect script. There is no perfect line. Okay. I know, and there is no one size fits all solution to calling all shippers. It just doesn't work that way. Now, there are some basic cold calling frameworks that I include in my training. Okay. But there isn't some magic script that I can just give you right here that's going to work on all your shippers. I'll give you some a basic framework. Number one, you need to be brief. Number two, you need to make it about them and not about you. Okay. Number three, you have to be confident, right? You have to get their attention. You have to create some curiosity. You have to be a little different. Okay. So calling up and saying, hi, my name's Elizabeth. I'm a freight broker and I want to move your freight. Can I move some loads? That's not interesting. It's not compelling. It's not going to get through. It's not going to work. Okay. So you need to be a little bit more unique. You need to think about your prospect. Here's my lesson. The lesson is the most successful freight brokers, the most successful freight agents, the most successful salespeople in the world are the people that are the most educated on their niche, on their prospect's company, and on the prospects themselves. So the more educated you are in those three areas, the niche, the company, and the actual contact, meaning having sales and market intelligence about them, the more educated you are, the more work you do up front to gather that sales intelligence, the easier it will be to approach them. Okay? I'll give you a real life example. Let's say, for example, XYZ company is in the rubber recycling business, kind of like what Mike was talking about today. They're in the recycling business, XYZ Recycling. And I found the shipping manager. His name is Joe. And so I do some research on XYZ Recycling. I look at their website. I do some Google searches. I look at their news. And I find out that they recently acquired another recycling company in the Northeast in New York. Okay. And I go and look at Joe's profile on LinkedIn and I do a little bit of research there. And I realize that Joe went to college at University of Buffalo, where I went to school. He, also is a part of different groups that we're a part of. We also have some in common connections. And he also posted recently something on his feed about the Buffalo Bills. I'm just making this up, right? This is information that I've gathered from his profile, from the company's website. So my approach to Joe is pretty easy, right? I might do an email or a call, and that call is going to talk about things that are relevant to him and his company. So we might refer to the acquisition that the company just made and how I read that in an article. We might refer to the fact that he went to the University of Buffalo. We might refer to the fact that he's a Bills fan. So we'll use that sales intelligence to create a dialogue, to create a sales hook. Okay. So those sales hooks are not the same for everybody, but the framework of creating a sales hook is the same for everybody. It's what I just gave you. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to be aloof and I'm not trying to not answer your question. But what I'd rather do, rather than feeding you a fish, I'd rather teach you how to fish. Okay. Because if I gave you a cold call that would work for one specific shipper, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. Right. And so what I just gave you was a framework that you can create a sales hook or a cold call or an opening call for anybody if you follow that basic framework. So I hope that helps. Oh, okay. So David Speed asks, Dennis, what were you reinvesting your profits into the first 2 years? Systems and technology and people. Those are the two biggest investments. Systems and technology and people. Remember, back then there was not a whole lot of good transportation management software for freight brokers out there. So we built our own. So I had to invest a lot of money there. I also had to hire people. So it was people and technology predominantly. Okay, was what I reinvested our profits into. Over the course of that time that I had the business, we invested well over $1 million just into our own TMS, which is crazy now. because I would never have to do that today because the TMSs that are out there now are even better than the one that I built. Okay. So, so you don't have to do that now, fortunately, but I had to back then, or chose to, and we invested a ton of money into that. But it did give us a significant return on investment. I'm not disappointed. I did over $200 million as a freight broker before I sold the business. So it wasn't a bad investment. Oops, sorry. Thank you, Joe Almighty. Love the course and the Freight Broker Bootcamp chat. Very educational and respectful. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Okay, so what if you want the boot camp and the course? Can it be purchased together? Are you referring to, I think it's Najee? Are you referring to the boot camp and the no cold calling course? Let me know in the comments if that's who you're referring to. Because normally, you would purchase, if you are brand new and you haven't enrolled yet, and you enrolled as a gold or platinum member, you will get a one-time offer to enroll in the no cold calling course. You get one chance to do that. That's it. Okay. So if you haven't enrolled in boot camp yet and you want to enroll, but you also want the no cold calling course, enroll, and then you will get one opportunity before you fully check out. You'll get a one-time offer to enroll in the no cold calling course if you choose. Okay. So, and if you're already enrolled and you want access to the no cold calling course, I already explained to you what you need to do. I'm going to give people access that are watching this live. Normally it's not open to the public, just in an open a la carte format. If you want that and you're serious about it, again, the no cold calling course is $997. If you want that, it's discounted from $1,500. But if you want that, you have to message me through the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. I'll send you a link where you can get enrolled. Okay. But this is a very limited time offer. I don't ever do this. I did it because Mike mentioned it during the interview, and I know that he had huge success from it. And so I'll open it up to you if you are serious. Destiny, do you think it's possible to run a brokerage for the first year without looking into hiring anyone? Absolutely, 100%. You don't need to hire anybody. You don't need to hire anybody your second or third or fourth or fifth year. If you want to be a solo broker, which is what a lot of people want to do, where you are the broker, you have your own customers, you move your own freight, and you're happy with the profits that you're making. Maybe you're making, perfect example, Lita Hakobayan, who I interviewed not long ago, is a solo agent. Okay. She's an agent, solo agent. She made $10,000 her first month in business. Now, whether she didn't have any employees when she did that. Okay. Mike Burke made that $65,000 his first 6 months. He didn't have any employees. Now he's hiring people, but that's because he's reinvesting the profits because he wants to grow his business. He's got a little taste and now he really wants to grow his business. Right. And so, no, you absolutely don't have to hire anybody. You don't have to hire dispatchers. You don't have to hire freight brokers. You don't have to hire anybody. You can do all the work yourself if you choose. Now, if you want to grow your revenue and you want to make more than $100,000 a year, right? Or more than $150,000 a year, you're probably going to have to hire somebody. You may have to hire a dispatcher. You may have to hire some accounting, somebody to do accounting or bookkeeping for you. You may have to hire a salesperson, or if you choose to go the agent route, that's up to you, right? But ultimately, you don't have to. That's your choice. Okay, so Lakita, I'm brand new to all this, and I'm not sure what I need to sign up for. What do you suggest? Okay, so Lakita, here's what I suggest. If you're brand new and you want to get started as a freight broker, freight agent, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com and sign up for the platinum membership. It's a one-time fee. It's $389 one time. You get lifetime access, lifetime support, and a whole bunch of bonuses that are worth 10 times what I'm charging for it. That's step number one. After you purchase that, you're going to get an opportunity to enroll in the No Cold Calling for Freight Brokers system, which is my LinkedIn and social selling training program for people that don't want to make cold calls. It's what Mike talked about in the interview, how he got all his customers. You will have an option to enroll in that program. Okay. You have a one-time offer to enroll in that program. You do not need to enroll. You can say, no, I'm not interested. No problem. If you're not ready for that, great. Or you can enroll. It's $1,000, $997. So those are your first two steps. After that, take the Freight Broker Bootcamp training, okay? And follow the system, follow the process of becoming a broker or an agent. And then at that point, you're off to the races. You just heard Mike's story. You've probably heard other stories of people that are agents that graduated from the course, other people that are brokers that have graduated from my course. So yeah, that's the basic steps. That's what you need to do. And we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. So don't worry. If you're not happy for whatever reason, we'll give your money back. Okay. We're the only people in the industry that do that. Nobody else offers a money back guarantee. They all take your money, and regardless of whether you get results or you're happy, they don't offer any money back guarantee. We're the only people that do that. Okay. That I've seen, at least. Okay. Okay, so Claudia asked, can you give examples of different niches? I assume niche was the type of truck the carrier had, such as flatbed or drive-in. Okay, so there are 3 or 4 different kinds of niches, okay? One that you mentioned is based on the type of equipment. Does it go on a van? Does it go on a flatbed? Does it go on a reefer? Does it go on some sort of specialized equipment? Okay. So you can develop your niche based upon the equipment type. That's one way to niche down. Okay. The other way to niche down is by geography. So for example, if you, excuse me one second. Sorry, guys. Say for example, what time is it right now? Oh, geez. All right. I'm going to answer this question, then I got to go. I'm sorry. I got to go. So niches are, you can go by geography. You can go by equipment type. You can go by industry, or you can do a hybrid of all of those. So you might say, hey, I'm going to focus on the Northeast and I'm going to focus on produce, right? Or I'm going to focus on the Pacific Northwest and I'm going to do flatbed. Or I'm going to focus on a specific type, bottled beverages, and I'm going to focus on, east of the Mississippi, right? So those are examples. Or you can just say, hey, I'm only going to do refrigerated loads. Everything that goes on a reefer unit, I'm going to focus on that. So there's a variety of different niches. Those are some of the ways that you can do it. Listen, I got to run, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're already over the hour. I have another appointment. Sorry I couldn't get to all your questions. I'll try to come back in the comments later. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker or freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Make sure you check that out. We offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee, trained over 10,000 students. You won't be disappointed. I want you guys to have an awesome day, have an awesome week, and I'll be back next Monday at noon with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks.